This is Laugh or Death, hosted by keynote speaker Paul Ozenkup.
I'm really excited to have my guest here today. Greg Kettner is a keynote speaker, trainer, and recovering stand-up comedian who is now on a mission to help mental health conversations feel less like an HR email and more like a real conversation with a friend who just happens to be hilarious. He's shared stages with Robin Williams and Norm Macdonald, and it doesn't say this in his bio, but we can address that later of why he didn't put this
Paul
in
Ozenkup.
Yeah, the great Paul Ozenkup. I don't know who those other two guys are. And he's worked with organizations like Coca-Cola, Ford, SAP, and Remax on his mission to help 1 million people talk about mental health, not as a trend, not as a checkbox, but as a lifeline. So good to have you, Greg.
Thank you for having me, Paul, man.
That's where all the cheers are.
Woo! The crowd goes wild. I wish I was there in beautiful Montana, but here we are.
Yeah, man, it'd be awesome. Well, one of these days we'll get you out here.
I can put my mask on if that makes you feel better.
Hey, yeah. We're not far enough away from each other, right? Right now over Zoom. So, okay, you know how the show works. I always start off with the first question for each guest. What is something weird about you that you love, or something weird that makes you happy?
Something that's weird about me, I don't even know if I told you this, so we've been friends for 4 or 5 years now. I've never had a cup of coffee. I don't care for hot drinks. And I've never watched Star Wars. I have no idea. I was doing a workshop this morning with a bunch of people, and there was one dude out of 25. I'm like, dude, we got to hang together. He's like, hey, what kind of movies do you like? I'm like, anything but sci-fi. He's like, oh, I love sci-fi and Star Wars. What's your favorite Star Wars? I'm like, I don't know. I said, if I did have to watch it, when I start, I don't even know. The first one, the last one, before, I don't know. So that's something weird.
I'm with you. I mean, I've seen several of the Star Wars, but I'm kind of like, all right, on the sci-fi stuff. Like, it's fine. I just kind of get bored with all the like action scenes of like choo 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 choo, and then I'm like, I know the good guy's gonna come out alive. It's fine, whatever. But so you've never had a cup of coffee?
No, I've tried it, but I don't like the taste, and I'm not a hot drink guy. My wife enjoys it, and I bring her coffee, and we go out for coffee. Our first date was coffee, and I had a water.
Do you like the smell of coffee? Yeah. My wife doesn't drink coffee. She drinks dirt water, tea, but she loves the smell of my coffees. But do people pressure you when you say like, oh, I don't drink coffee? Do you get a lot of people like, oh, you're gonna drink some coffee today? Like you got it, or try this, or have you tried this kind, or whatever? And so you're like, dude, just let me not drink coffee.
Yeah, every once in a while I get that, but it's just like, okay, you're weird, whatever, move on. Or they'll like, well, you asked me for coffee and you're having a water. What's for that? I'm like, you want to go for a water? I don't know. Sounds weird.
Yeah, or like, what do they have at that? Like, do you want to go for a pastry?
A pastry and water?
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, fair enough. All right, no coffee, no Star Wars. So definitely let's not get a cappuccino and watch episode 1 or whatever it's
and
called.
I hate laughter as well. I don't know. I guess that's the trifecta.
You hate laughter? Yeah, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah. That's why you got out of comedy. You're like, I've got some banger jokes, but it just annoys me every time the crowd laughs. Like, I was just,
you know why I got out of comedy, Paul? Because I met the love of my life, and it took me 8 years to figure out that I liked money more than stand-up.
Well, tell me about that. I was going to ask you. You say you're a recovering comedian, and so tell me. So you were doing stand-up, and then how and why'd you get out of it, and what'd you do next?
So I was working full time. I was with the Vancouver Canucks in the National Hockey League, and I've always been a big fan. When we were kids, we wore out the record "Fat Albert" by Bill Cosby. You all know what happened with him. But back in the day, when you didn't know, you didn't know. And so I had always thought, man, if I can make a living doing this. And then I had an opportunity at a conference when I was at work, and I got up stage in front of 3,500 people, and it worked out. And so I did stand up for
Wait, so the
16
first time you did stand up, you you had to do it at work in front of 3,500 people.
No, but it was about 6 months in. And you know as well too. You do improv and stand up as well. So I was doing the open mic nights. I was about 6 months in, and somebody had seen me do a show and said, "Hey, why don't you roast our VPs at the organization I was working with, SAP, a big software company?" And so I did the Christmas party for about 700 people, and what I did, they wanted to roast, and so I sent an email to the people that I was going to roast, the VPs, and I said, "Tell me something weird about you or something that I can joke about that nobody else knows."
Yeah.
So that when I say it, the whole crowd goes, "Oh my God, he's talking about him." Like, right? So I had everything pre-approved by the people I was roasting.
Great.
And that went well. It was about 10 minutes or so. There was 4 people I roasted who were like, "Oh my God, you're hilarious." I'm like,
That's a good way to do it too. You get their permission first. I mean, for someone who doesn't like coffee, you like a mild roast, you know? I mean, it's pretty good.
well played. Yes, Chad. And so I did that for a company party in Vancouver. And then in January, we had our annual sales kickoff, which is in Vegas. You know, I don't know if any of the listeners have been to a big sales event, but it was at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, 3,500 people. The house band was Lenny Kravitz. The number one salesperson got a brand new Porsche. So it was a pretty big deal. And I'm at the back of the room.
So just a little, kind of shindig, you guys were
Whatever dealership, walk in, get a Porsche.
right.
And so I was at the back of the room sitting with people I had not yet met. It was a week-long event. And 7 minutes into the event, the MC, who's a professional comedian, I'd worked with him before, messed up. And he called out the first presenter, his sexual orientation. He thought it was funny. It wasn't. And he got canned 7 minutes into a 3-hour program. So the house lights came on, the band started playing. I was sitting back, and I've been doing stand-up for 6 months, so I knew, I was like, I would not. How do you follow that? Like,
right.
Like, done.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and I didn't say anything. I was just like, well, all right, well, let's have another drink, another bite of my steak. And then about 5 minutes later, over the PA system, the voice said, "Hey, again, it's us. We're sorry for what happened. We're sorry you had to see it. We're embarrassed. We apologize. The person has left the building. We're going to be restarting the program in 15 minutes. So bear with us. Again, we'll talk to you afterwards, answer any questions, blah, 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 but we'll be restarting in 15 minutes. And if anyone knows where Greg Kettner is, we need to talk to him."
The voice of God is like, "Greg Kettner. We're paging at Greg Kettner."
And that's why I puckered up like a snare drum.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was sitting at a table with 10 other people, so I didn't say anything. I'm like, I'm not going up.
You're like, I didn't write his stuff for him. Don't get mad at me.
I didn't do it.
That's my first thought, is that I would have been like, what am I in trouble for, man? I would have like brought back traumatic memories from school.
The same thing. You know, when they called me, I'm like, how much did I have to drink last night? Who was I talking to?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so they call you up and they were like, can you just finish the show for us?
Well, they just said, we need to talk to Greg Kettner. Please come backstage. I was like, and I was kind of at the back of the ballroom, and there was a door there. I'm like, well, maybe I'll just go gamble. But I've been doing stand-up for 6 months in front of 15 people at a bar where nobody cared. And I thought, you know what? I got 3,500 people. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm never going to have this opportunity again.
Yeah, man.
So
you said, I'll go gamble. I mean, you kind of did gamble. It's like, hey, might as well take the shot if you got it.
Right? Why not? And so I didn't say anything. And then 5 minutes later, they seriously, if anyone knows where Greg's seated tonight, because I mean, it's a massive room, right? Or what table he's gambling at, or his cell phone number, room number. And that's when my former friend Trevor came running over, like, dude, they want you to do stand up. And I was like, what? And they go, look, you got a sold out show, blah, blah, blah. So he outed me in front of the table. So my whole table now knew.
But you weren't the first person to get outed that night. So, I mean, at least this one was more appropriate.
After the second. Hey, let's have another conversation. You can write my material. It's better. And so I'm walking up the stage. I'm like, well, I'm outed now. So I went backstage. I'm like, hey, I'm Greg. Am I in trouble? They're like, no, You saw what happened. I'm like, yeah, it would suck. I don't know how you're going to get out of this mess. And they go, well, we heard you do stand up. We need to go do 15 minutes. Right. And they had no idea that I had spent 4 or 5 hours on this 8-minute set.
Yeah,
And now
exactly.
I'm having dinner. 5 minutes later, they're wiring me up with a lapel mic, which I'd never had before. Never had a crowd like that. And they said, we need you to do 15 minutes of stand up so we can figure out how we're going to restart the program and go from there. So I
Man.
was like, okay. And Trevor's like, what jokes are you going to tell? I'm like, I don't know. Like the adrenaline, like I couldn't even remember my name. I was just like, where
Right.
am I? This is not happening. So the guy went out to introduce me. He's like, hey, sorry for what happened again. But lucky for us, one of our very own sales reps is a stand-up comedian. He's very funny. I'm like, oh, there's somebody else in the company who does stand-up. I want to meet him.
Oh, good. I'll follow that guy. Yeah, good.
And he said, please welcome Greg Kettner. And I remember, Paul, I was standing backstage shaking like a leaf, and I stumbled through this massive royal blue curtain into blinding lights and a standing ovation from 3,500 people. Not because I deserved it, not because anybody knew who I was, but I was the guy that like, oh, this event shut down and now he's going to do stand-up. And so
Yeah.
I told him a
Yeah.
couple of scary jokes and whatnot. But at the end, I had 3 minutes to go because he had the confidence monitor with the clock. I said, I got 3 minutes and no more jokes, but I want to confess that I didn't hit my number this year, so I'm not going on club. And club was a $10,000 cruise for you and a guest through Turkey, Italy, and Greece.
Wow.
And I said, but I'm kind of helping out the company now. Can I get on the boat?
Yeah, I love it, man. They can't
And
say
I
no
did
then. They look like jerks if they say no.
best sale I ever made.
Yeah,
Because the
there
guy
you
from the
go.
front table stood up, come and shook my hand, and he's like, kid, you're on the boat. He had a French accent. I'm like, who the hell are you? He goes, I am the president of SAP. You are on the boat.
Oh, wow. That's
And so
awesome.
another standing ovation because I asked for it and I got it. And then I thought, you know what? I just did 15 minutes of stand-up comedy in Las Vegas. I got $10,000 trip. If my math is correct, that's $40,000 an hour. And then 2 weeks later, I was back in Vancouver working for a burger and a beer.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're out at the clubs like, hey, we'll give you a couple free beers and, $50 if you're lucky to open for this headliner. Yeah. Well, you know what? There's such a good lesson in that too of like, you and I both do a lot of workshops with organizations around happiness at work and the value of humor. The thought of kind of just a yes and mentality to life of like, sometimes you're scared and you're nervous, but like with improv comedy, it's like you just have to go with what the gifts that life gives you. And you did it. You could have been like, you know what? No, I don't know if I'm ready. I've been doing some open mics, but I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of thing, and not taking that risk. But you did it, and then look what happened.
Yeah, and I'm thankful because I did. At the time, I was single and, living the life of working really hard and playing really hard. And here, 15 years, 20 years later, I get to, like you, get on stages and do workshops and trainings and help people talk about mental health in the workplace. And I have the knack as a guy for doing that, but I also use the humor background. And, even in the workshop that I did this morning, I told people, I said, a lot of people will say, hey, it's tough. It's weird having a conversation about mental health in the workplace. I said, yeah, but the first time you rode a bike, it was a little bit weird, a little bit awkward. You may have fallen off, but what did you do? And people go, oh, you get back on. You figure it out. I go, same thing with a mental health conversation at work. First time
Yeah.
might be a little bit awkward, might be a little bit weird, but you don't think about it now.
Well, how did you get to a point where you wanted to do that? Like, why? So here's one of my pet peeves right now in the world we live in are like TikTok self-help people, right? Who are doling out like mental health advice and stuff like that or physiological like health advice that isn't very good, and they are not really trained for this. But you have specific, kind of a specific message. You came to it like because of some reason. Like, what drew you to like, hey, you know what? We got to have some conversations around mental health and not be scared to talk about it. Like, what was it that got you to this point where you're like, hey, I know that my background is comedy and sales, but I'm making a massive shift because this is important to me.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. So it was that event in Vegas, and then about 4 or 5 months later, I got to meet Robin Williams, which was just a coincidence. It was an open mic. It was 7 o'clock show. I had my 5 minutes of fart and poop jokes, and there was nobody in the bar, right? Nobody had to pay to get in. 3 people walked in because they were thirsty. I'm like, oh, a comedy show. And bartender and one wait staff and 5 comics and a girlfriend. And I was halfway through my 5 minute set, and the door opened up, and in walked my hero, Robin Williams. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, Robin Williams.
Right.
And he grabbed a beer, came and sat down. He started laughing at me. And I was like, this is not happening. And so as I walked off stage, I'm like, how am I going to connect with this guy in a unique way? Not like, oh, I want an autograph or I want a photograph.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
You and I get that all the time, right? Whenever we get on stage.
Oh man, I can't go anywhere. Yeah, I'm so famous now. Even my phone recognizes my face.
Nice. And so he was watching. So I got off stage, and I'm like, I'm going to pretend I have no idea who this guy is. And it totally worked. So I went and got him the beer, sat down beside him, and was like, hey, I'm Greg. He's like, hey, I'm Robin. I'm like, what are you? I go, I haven't seen you before. What are you doing here in town? He's like, oh, we're filming the movie. I'm like, well, that sounds fun. What do you do? Are you in catering? You hold the microphone? And
Oh, yes.
the look very good. Got was he's like, holy shit, John Goodman has no idea who I am. And you laugh, but I live with it, right? I'm either skinny John Goodman or fat Prince Harry. I'm right in the middle.
We call him Prince Heavy.
Prince Harry.
I like that, man. A skinny John Goodman or a fat Prince Harry. That's great. Yeah. Well, hey, man, I get nerdy Pitbull, so it's all good.
Right on. But Pitbull can't do impressions like you can.
That's right, Mr. Worldwide.
So I kept it going as long as I could, and I said, "Oh, you're filming a movie, and you know I'm an actor." I'm like, "What have you been in?" He's like, "Good Will Hunting, Mrs. Doubtfire." I'm like, "Yeah, still not ringing a bell." And I go, "Who's in the movie?" He goes, "It's Night at the Museum with Ben Stiller." I'm like, "Oh, I love Ben Stiller. He's awesome." And I could just see him getting so mad at me.
He's like, this guy really has...
We kept on having a conversation, and he was like, so really? I go, dude, I know who you are. I'm a huge fan. I just wanted to connect with you on a different level. He's like, thank you for that. And he told me 2 things. He said, number 1, you're funny. Keep doing stand-up comedy. And he said, number 2, and more importantly.
That's nice of him to lie to you. That's great.
And number 2, he said, keep making people happy because you'll never know the difference you make in their lives. And I was like, oh, that's a good thing. And I didn't understand what he meant until about 3 or 4 months later. I was doing a show at a bar in a hotel, and a father-son walked in, and they weren't there for comedy. I don't know. They weren't smiling. They had their arms crossed, their feet on my stage. And so I made it my mission. I remember what Robin said, keep making people happy because you'll never know the difference. So that night, I was like, I'm going to make these 2 people laugh. I could care less if I get laughs, but I want these 2 guys to have fun. So eventually they started having fun. It was probably the other comedians that were making them laugh. But afterwards I went and talked to him. I said, hey, how did you hear about the show? And the dad said, well, we've been coming to the show, or we've been walking past your show for the last 8 weeks for staying in the hotel. But we're so tired at the end of the day, we have dinner and fall asleep. And so just being curious, I said, well, 8 months in a hotel, or 8 weeks in a hotel. And he's like, yeah, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. So my son and I are living here. We take care of her during the day, take her to appointments, make sure she's comfortable. That's about it. And so I turned to the boy and I said, how's mom doing? And he started to choke up and cry. He said, Mom passed away this morning. That's why we're here.
Oh, man.
So now there's 3 dudes after a comedy show in a bar. We've all had a couple of beers, and we're hugging each other and crying like they were my long lost friends. And that's the moment when I realized what Robin Williams meant. Like, make people happy. You're probably never going to see it, but if you're lucky, you might get a chance. And I got my chance because the dad finally got it together, and he said, Greg, thank you for making us laugh. It's the first time in 8 weeks we've felt somewhat normal. And you and I both know that when we laugh, it doesn't necessarily take the pain in life away, but it gives us a reprieve. And for that time when we're laughing, we're like, okay, life's going to be good. We can make it. And So that culminated into like, oh, maybe there's a plan here. And then later on, when I got married and, a year into my marriage, my stepdaughter lost her dad to suicide. I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to take my skills that I have on stage and making people laugh and connect and talk more about happiness and mental health so that we can save lives and make the world a better place. And so I've committed myself to, helping a million people work happy at work. And that's part of it. And that's kind of the short of the long story. But my purpose is to help other people have conversations, especially you and I. We've had many conversations. I mean,
Yeah.
you got me to come down to Florida and we've had those conversations there. We've had them online, but it's meaningful. It's purposeful. And the rush that I get walking off stage and having somebody else come up to me and say, you know what? You're a dude. I'm a dude. For the first time in my life, I'm going to go to therapy.
Well,
That's
it's
what
really, yeah, and it's really powerful, the story you shared. I mean, first of all, many of my comedy shows end with me just crying with two dudes afterwards,
I know. I've been
but for
there.
totally different reasons. It's just the only people in the club. No, but it's a really powerful thing to be able to lift someone's spirits. And I remember when you and I first met, we had you out to Florida to speak at an event, and we didn't really know each other. We kind of connected online before that, but we got to spend a little time together. And to be honest, when we flew home, it was like, well, this is another contact I've made in the work that I do and whatever. And you talked during your talk about, hey, a simple thing that you could do, and you had people during your talk at that time like reach out to someone you haven't reached out to in a long time that you want to give a gratitude to, or tell them you appreciate them or that you love them. And so people did that. A very simple thing, a very, very simple thing that we can do. But then I remember like a month after that event, you reached out to me and called me, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what Greg needs, and I figured it was like a work-related thing. And I wouldn't say you and I were like buddies yet or like friends yet,
Yeah.
but we just kind of knew each other in a professional way. And you were like, hey, man, I'm just calling to check in, make sure you're doing good, make sure kind of mental health is good and that you're feeling okay. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Like I was, like, I mean, honestly, because guys don't do that. Like that is not typical of what guys do. And since then, you've done that numerous times, and we've checked in with each other like, hey, how are things going? Not just like, you getting some gigs, or you working, how's that going? But literally like, I hope things are well for you. And that's to me the simple kind of thing of why your message is so powerful to me.
Well, thanks, man. That means a lot. And I didn't know that. I mean, not to say that you're not memorable, but I mean, we've had a lot of conversations. I remember when, the world was on fire in your neck of the woods, right? I called
Yeah.
in, and my thought was like, I don't know what I would do. I would be freaking out. I wonder if there's anything I can do from afar to check in, right? And I think I got that from my parents. They were always service-based, and my dad was a doctor. My mom was a nurse, but more than just their jobs, they would check in on people. And that's what lights me up.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're friends, because you do the same thing for me, right? I mean, it can be 2 or 3 months that we don't talk, and I get a text from you or an email, and the same thing. You're not asking for gigs. Where else can I do another gig?
Right.
Or who can I talk to? It's genuinely, how are you, man? How's the wife? How's life? Your headspace good?
Well, and when you see tragedy, like your stepdaughter's dad taking his own life, like when you see that kind of stuff around you, you realize like, this is real, man. We got to check in with each other. You never know. Robin Williams is a good example. Like that was a shock to so many people. You never know how people are doing, and that one check-in might be the difference when somebody's in a bad spot, even if their face out to the world is pretty brave or happy. What kind of reaction do you get when you're working with people and having them like, hey, I want you to reach out and text somebody right now? What kind of reaction do you get from folks?
Usually it's probably 90% positive.
Yeah.
And there's really good feedback. And I tell people, I'm like, a lot of speakers like, turn your phone off. We're listening to a speaker. I'm like, turn them on, put the dares on. Because I was in Boise, Idaho. There's 450 people It was for a healthcare organization. And we did the text, and you could just hear the dings, and I could look around the room, and you could see people reaching over like, hey, look at the text, look at the text. And I had, you get different reactions. I had one guy come up to me afterwards. He's like, the texting was awesome. I'm going to keep doing it. I need to do it more because I texted my daughter, and here's the text I got back. So he showed me the phone, and he sent a message to her. He's like, hey, I know it's been a while. I hope things are good. I just want to let you know I love you. I appreciate you. And her text was, Dad, do you have cancer?
Yeah,
Right?
why are you doing this, weirdo? Yeah, what's wrong?
But it was the idea of he's like, well, I think I need to do this more. And, I had another guy come up to me. He was in Toronto after a conference. He came up to me. He goes, that texting thing, I'm going to do that. I started texting my wife. And sorry, I missed the last half of your talk. But we started having this conversation. And she's like, you know what? He didn't go into detail what his past. But he's like, his wife was like, yeah, it would be great if he could go to therapy. And he goes, you know what? This John Goodman guy goes, I'm going to go. I'm like, awesome. So I gave him a big hug and we're high-fiving each other. He goes, the only downside, I think she loves you more today than me.
Yeah, exactly.
But
well,
that's the thing. The reason when you and I get up there and dudes and we're vulnerable, people go, well, Paul does it. Greg does it.
right.
I get this with you for me.
Yeah, well, and it's always good advice, talk to your wife, pay attention to your wife if she's calling more than the motivational speaker. Like, like he made a good choice there. Like, hold on, I really got to listen to this guy. And the wife's like, I want to have a conversation. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, I think I think for a lot of people, being able to make it accessible, like, hey, it's normal to check in and see how somebody's doing. It's normal to seek help for yourself, or I'm just glad that one guy though, who texted his daughter didn't show you the phone, and he's like, hey, I love you so much, and you just got a thumbs up.
Yeah,
like,
her.
Okay,
Like the rest of us do.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Few weeks. What's going on? Good.
okay, yeah, okay, cool.
Then you have to go to Google and go, what does good mean? And AI will print you out whatever she meant to say by saying,
Yeah, exactly.
All right, quick pause. I want to mention something I am stoked about. Let's be honest. Most guys aren't going to therapy until things in their relationship are already going not so great. And if you've ever felt like you're doing the best you can in your relationship, but like something is just missing, trust me, you're not alone. And most of us, we don't get taught this stuff. We're just told like, you got to communicate better, but no one ever shows us or tells us exactly how to do that. And that's why I am loving Caveman to Casanova. It's not a bunch of lectures and it's not therapy. It's just simple, practical tools that help you show up as the best version of yourself. So whether it's like you want to learn how to handle conflict a little bit better, or say what you actually mean without somehow making things worse, which we've all been there, it helps you do those things. It just starts with a quick quiz, and then it tailors the program for you based on what you could do a little bit better and what you're already doing really well. So if you want to be more intentional in your relationship without having to make it like a whole thing, then check out Caveman to Casanova. Or if you want to give your man a little nudge, I've put a link in the show notes. Check it out.
I was talking with my, I wasn't talking, I was just listening. I was at my dentist, who I'm no longer with. And he, I know, I hate it. So, and they ask me questions, and I have a problem talking too much anyway. I have diarrhea of the mouth for a living. And so he's sitting there talking, and it's all I can do to not. But anyway, he's mansplaining AI to me like I've never heard of it. And but then he told me about how he came home from work and he wanted to just go chill in their hot tub, but his wife wanted to watch a movie together, and he was like, I just don't want to do that. And they got in a big fight about it, and he then went upstairs and he said, but it was great because then I asked AI how I should respond to my wife, and it wrote me this great text, and it was all like, hey, it's not about the show, or it's not about not wanting to spend time with you. It's just about, not wanting to watch this show. And it was like this great empathetic text, and it worked so well. By the time I sent it, we were patched things up, and I'm like, you just outsourced human empathy to a robot. Like, I'm glad that you felt vulnerable enough to tell me this as I am being tortured. But dang, dude.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast and a whole nother conversation. It's social media. Well, we know stuff about people, but we don't
Yeah.
have connection, right? And I tell people, pick up the phone, or if you see somebody at Starbucks, and they did, I heard one guy, I was standing behind the line, kind of creeping on him, and these two dudes were talking. He's like, you know what? You helped me move at a time when I felt like I had no friends 3 years ago, and it meant a lot to me. Thank you. And these two guys had a bro hug, and it was magical because they had a conversation. They connected. There was no phones or no way. And I think we need to get back to more of that.
Well, I think you're exactly right too, because we both talk about happiness at work, and one of the things, our brains are hardwired to seek happiness, but they are not very good at projecting what will make us happy. And one of the lies that my brain tells me is I don't want to interact with people. So like when I'm traveling, it's like earbuds, don't look at me, like whatever.
You just put them in so you don't have to talk to people.
Exactly, right? And so then it's like grocery store, it's like self-checkout, but that's a lie that my brain's telling me. Actually, we need human interaction. It makes us healthier and it makes us happier. And we are kind of taking that out of our everyday lives. So what you're doing by having people like, I want you to connect with each other is neurologically what we need.
Right? We're humans. We're not robots. And AI is here, and we have to embrace it and use it, and it helps us perform better. But AI is never going to replace a hug. It's never going to replace this. I mean, we're on an app that's helping us get the message out to people, but the real connection was, in a boardroom with 25 people this morning, and people are sharing that they're struggling and they're hurting and they don't know what to do. And when you and I can give them, well, have you tried meditation? Have you tried breathing? Have you tried laughter? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And at the end of 2 hours, when people come to you with tears in their eyes and going, this is exactly what I need to hear, it's the best drug ever.
Yeah. So has there been a time, speaking of laughter, like, have you tried laughter? Like, has there been a time for you personally when you were going through a tough time, when humor showed up in an unexpected way or helped you get through it?
Yeah, many times. I mean, even Becky and I relate. If we either us have a long day and we need to come home, decompress, we'll have dinner and we'll put on Sebastian Maniscalco and just laugh. Right. One of the most important times, meaningful to me, how laughter helped us. Rachel, my stepdaughter, was a big fan of Brian Regan, and through my connections, I was able to get a meet and greet with him. So we went and saw him on a Friday night. 2 days later, we found out that her dad had passed by suicide. And so you wake up at 2:08 in the morning, your wife's like, we need to talk. I'm like, I didn't load the dishwasher. I'm sorry.
Tough crowd.
But then when she goes, Rachel's dad is gone, I didn't know what to talk about. I didn't know what to do. So that's how this kind of all started. So we all started going to therapy, and then I went to therapy on my own. How do I support my wife and my stepdaughter? And it just kind of grew out of that. But I remember about 2 weeks after he passed, we were sitting at a dinner table, and Rachel was talking about her dad, and she started to cry, and then Becky started to cry, and then I started to cry. I know you well enough that our deflection is humor. When we're stressed out or we need something, like, okay, let's laugh. And so I said, all right, time out. So we're halfway through dinner. We sat on the couch, turned on Brian Regan, and within 5 minutes, we were all three laughing. Like, oh, this is a show. I remember this joke. Back to the point that it doesn't take away the pain, but it helps us get through it.
Oh man, just like a brief vacation from the pain, even if it's for a half hour or whatever. It also helps you connect with a different part of emotion that I think when you're going through a really traumatic time, the first time you reconnect with laughter is kind of a magical moment where you're like, okay, I'm not completely broken. There's still this part of me that is still there, which is, there's a huge resilience building component to that, where it's like, oh my gosh, well, if I can still laugh. And sometimes people feel guilty the first time they laugh after a tragedy, because it's like, oh my gosh, how am I how am I happy right now? But as we're able to realize that, like, oh man, this is going to be the way life is. I'm going to have some low lows, but I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to think Brian Regan and Sebastian Maniscalco are hilarious. You know, maybe not so much Greg Kettner, but that's just how my life is, you know.
Well, Opry's up.
Yeah, Paul Osgood, that guy's a hack. But
He steals all our jokes. You Charles
yeah.
Smith either.
but yeah, there's definitely something validating to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that just triggered a memory. I remember my dad passed away a year and a half ago, and it was traumatic. He was a great friend, and we had a great relationship. But he had a couple of strokes, and the last one, his body just couldn't keep up. And I remember he passed away in the hospital, and when we heard his last breath, and we heard the beep, I fell down. I'd been in the hospital for 2 days, and it was just emotional, and I screamed, and I was like a baby crying. But an hour and a half later, my sister and I were driving home, and my dad was about 80, and older people in technology, and he would always complain about he was on Apple all the time talking to customer service. So I'm like, Dad, you need to get a new laptop. Yours is 27 years old. It's just done. Right? But he would always call and spend 3 or 4 hours talking to. And
Your
so
laptop
I'm
can
driving
legally
home.
rent a car.
So I'm driving home with my sister, and we're wiped out. We've cried. We're emotionally drained. We're tired. We're hungry. We're sleep deprived. She started going through her phone like, oh, who do I need to call? Who do I need to text? Let them know that Dad passed away. So the aunties and uncles, grandmas and grandpas, family, friends, and all that. And she goes, anybody else? Who am I missing? I'm like, oh, you need to call Apple. The stock is going to drop. Things are going to go haywire because Dad's not calling anymore, right? He'd be calling for 4 hours a day, and we don't know who he was talking to or what was going on. It wasn't on his credit card, but he was talking to this Apple girl all day long. And
Yeah,
so
it turns out an apple a day didn't keep the doctor away.
we are going to write together soon. But that moment, even though we were both emotionally drained and had been crying for 2 and 3 days and just spent, she's like, oh my God, that is not funny, but right now it's funny.
Yeah.
Right? And that, you and I know this, and I hope other people get this. It wasn't funny because Dad died. It was a situation. It was made fun of. And for 15, 20, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever in the car, we're like, okay, this is, like you just said, it's the way it's going to be, but we can still laugh at the situation. We can remember the good times. And when we do that, it definitely helps with the pain and the healing.
And that's the best type of grief too, I think, is when, like, any time that the person who's died, like their memory makes you laugh, that is, like, to me, the most joyous way to remember them is if anything about their life can still bring a laugh to me and my family, whatever. That is, or a smile to our face. Like, that's the best type of remembering, even if it's mixed in with some tears and that kind of stuff. Now, I have a question. So, and this is I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. So if it's too much, just let me know. But
no,
you said your dad, was your dad a golfer? I know you're a golfer.
yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't do that.
All right. Because you mentioned he had like several strokes. So I was trying to think, like, could we work out a joke there? Like, could we work out some kind of a joke? Or like I told I love golf. I told my wife, if I start to have some strokes, just make sure I'm still under par or something. Like, there's got to be a joke there somewhere about, like, I can have a few strokes, but not more than 4. What's that?
I should, Mom, if you're listening, Paul is a really nice guy.
Yeah, but this is like this is how comedians work out jokes, right?
No,
we
I
think
know.
of a premise and then we go like, all right, how do we? Yeah. Like if it
so an apple a day.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
the apple a day, man. Put that in there.
Brilliant.
I'm gonna try to figure out that, like, if I have a stroke, like if I have multiple strokes and someone says, man, this guy, like, when I'm in my 80s or something, they'll be like, didn't you have 4 strokes? I'll be like, yeah, but put me down for a 3.
100.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
I
Anyway,
have so many Congressman seeing you on that apple a day.
oh yeah, I don't care, man. Yeah, that's go for it. Well, I don't.
Me.
If I could use that joke somewhere, I'd say no, it's mine. But I don't have a story about my dad calling Apple
Here.
every day. So hey, man, that's all you. Apple a day,
Thank you.
and just every time you say that joke, just pour a little out for your homie.
All right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Speaking, I mean, it is life, and why not look at the positive, which you and I do, and how do we use happiness and humor to keep going? Because it is what it is, and the memory lives on, and sometimes I cry, and sometimes I dream about them, but it's, yeah. I miss them,
Yeah.
but I love them, and it's good.
I love that. I can't remember where I heard this, so forgive me whoever told me this, or maybe I listened to it on another podcast. But the metaphor of grief as a lake, and how like at first you're submerged and you feel like you're drowning in the grief, and you feel like you're just trying to keep your head above water because it's too much, and then eventually you're able to manage it, and you're still in it like all the time, all day. Eventually you're kind of working your way toward the shore. And even when you get out of the lake, even when you're out of the grief, the lake is always there next to you, and you can kind of always see it. And sometimes you like choose to immerse yourself in it. Like, I just need a good cry. I want to look at these old pictures and cry and that kind of stuff. Other times we choose to play in it, and like, laugh about our memories from. But that lake is always there. It's just now hopefully we get to a point where we don't feel like we're drowning in it. So I
Yeah,
love that
love that.
metaphor. Yeah.
And the lake's always going to be beautiful. Like, once you're not drowning and you're able to swim, and like, oh, this is what I remember when I was a kid. Eventually, you can sit on the shore like, that's Dad. That's a lake.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great, man. Well, look, I think, to me, the power of your overall message is like, you don't have to be a trained psychologist or a counselor to know that, like, hey, just reach out to the people that you love and check on them more often. Like, make sure they're okay, and encourage your friends, your bros, that kind of stuff, to get professional help if they need it. I mean, it's pretty simple, but we just don't do it enough.
Yeah. And at times, I mean, even just checking in. I mean, there's days I've texted you or called you to check in because I needed it. I was feeling
Right.
down, or I was feeling overwhelmed, right? And when I leave a voicemail for you or we get to talk, I'm like, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Right. I got a bro that can help out and listen, and so I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. Well, we'll stay connected, and thanks for doing this. Where's a good place for people to find you? Where should they go?
Either LinkedIn or my website, which is just gregkettner.com.
GregKettner.com. The link will be in the show notes. Greg, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you, bud.
You've been listening to Laugh or Death with Paul Ozencup. If you're planning a conference or event and want something smart, meaningful, and actually funny, book Paul to speak. To learn more or to get a copy of his book, The Humor Habit, visit laughordeath.com.